Well, all of a sudden, it's a Monday morning again, and I'm back on the case with this Triumph Tiger Cub. And obviously, anyone that saw my last video featuring this machine, apart from my 100-mile-an-hour story, will have realised that I took it for a road test and had to abort it and come back because I got terrible pinking and the engine was getting very hot and bothered, and it just wasn't happy at all going up Bantam Hill. So I turned round and headed for home, and under light loads the engine ran nicely and you'd certainly think there was nothing wrong, but obviously I've had a look at it and I've had a look at the specification sheets as well for the the years and the models and whatever for carburettor settings and so on, and it turns out that the carburettor on this was set up correctly. Everything, jet sizes, needle jet, needle position, main jet, all that sort of stuff was all correct. I had another look at the ignition timing, and I decided I'd give myself the benefit of a small amount of doubt, and I've knocked a couple of degrees off that, but that wasn't really a problem. So we're now a few degrees more retarded than we were when I took it for the ride. But interestingly, what I've done, I was quite disappointed actually to find that the carburettor settings were all correct. But what I have done, I've raised the needle a notch, and out of 5 grooves in the needle on the monoblock carb needles, this one was in the middle groove, which is correct. But what I've done, I've taken it up to the 4th one. So we've gone up a notch there. But the biggest revelation actually, now bear in mind that I checked and the main jet was correct. The main jet was a 90. I thought, well, the old Trials Cub replica here goes really well, and the engine setup and specs and everything should be pretty much identical. Compression ratio, camshaft, all that sort of stuff will be the same. And that engine in the Trials Cub there actually originates from a Bantam Cub. So I thought, well, let me just check what settings I have for the carburettor on this one. And it runs so nicely. And everything, carburettor type, size, everything, are all the same as what we've got on the Bantam Cub, except that where we've got the so-called correct 90 main jet in this one, the Trials Cub has got a whopping 140. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig out another 140, and I'm going to put a 140 main jet in this. Now I don't care that it's 50 above what it ought to be. We've got enough footage and I've got enough experience of this bike to know that it runs perfectly. It does everything as it should and is a very capable machine, and it pulls very hard. So we're going to throw the rule book out the window and go for a 140 main jet in this one. And I think that's bound to make a difference and bound to make an improvement. Strangely though, I was expecting, when I removed the spark plug of this one to check the ignition timing, I was expecting it was going to be white. But it wasn't. The colours looked about right. But then we finished off the ride by coming back down a slight downhill gradient all the way home and never went over half throttle. So we probably never got onto the main jet anyway, well, certainly not fully. So I'm going to put a 140, or as near as I've got, main jet in this, and make it all ready to go again, and give it another try, I think. And subject to it running okay, we've got a bit of oil down there. That's the residue of what ran out from the back of the primary case, I think. But subject to getting this thing working as it should, which I hope to do, then I can speak to the owner and ask if he wants me to delve in here. But the primary case was actually holding a small amount of oil, but it certainly is not happy with life when it's up to its level plug, because it was chucking it out the back. But one thing at a time. I'm going to look for a 140 main jet. If I haven't got a 140, I might use a 120, 130, 150, somewhere within that range. But I know, like I said, Trials Cub there runs beautifully with a 140 main jet in and everything else set up exactly as it is on this engine, so I'm hoping that that might be the key to it. But for anyone interested, of course, watch this space.